Today we're going over equipment maintenance and how to maintain your equipment, make sure that it's working well so that you can be as efficient as possible and do more by working less. The first thing we'll talk about is vacuum maintenance. This is the number one piece of equipment that breaks. It breaks the most often. The most common issue is that your hose clogs with debris. Something starts it. Usually it could be like a hair tie, a sock, anything gets stuck in that hose, and then more builds up in the hose and you end up with a clog. Cleaning your vacuum regularly goes a long way to preventing that. We do have a video in the knowledge base how to unclog my vacuum, so we won't go too in depth onto how to unclog here, but mostly how to prevent it from happening in the first place. And the best way to prevent vacuum issues is to clean your filters and rid the rollers of hair after every single clean. So you want to bang your filters on the street before you head to your next home between houses. Once a week you can wash your filters in the sink and always get all the hair off your rollers after every home, especially if it's a home with a lot of pets or a really hairy dog, somebody that sheds a lot. And once per month you want to give your vacuum a deep cleaning, and we'll go over that. We have 3 different styles of vacuums to go over. We have the stick vac. This is the NV78X. And this is one of our older duo cleans. We still have a few of them out there, and the mechanisms on all 3 of these models are they pretty much encompass the entire Shark lineup and all of the different types that you're going to find. One thing I always like to point out to people is that these rocket vacs hook down here at the bottom so you can transport them easily, and they don't fall over if you leave them sitting, which is super convenient for getting into homes and for transporting them. So what we're going to go over is how to get into the brush roll area so that we can service these vacuum brushes. Okay, I'm going to start with the stick vac. This and the 78X work the exact same way. If you want to access the main brush roll, you hit these 2 tabs and that pops this cover off, and then you can pull on this tab here and get the brush roll out. This is a brand new vacuum, so it has a totally clean brush roll, so we're not going to mess with this, just going over it to show you guys how to get them out. On the front brush roll, the hard floor attachment, there is a tab on the side. You just pop that and it comes out, same thing. To get it back in, you kind of have to line it up correctly, and this little side says front. Make sure that's facing the front, and you click it back in. So that's a rocket vac. Let's take a look at this vacuum. This one is pretty heavily used, and we have a brush roll to clean on it. So I'm going to pop this cover off, and just like we saw there, I'm going to take this brush roll out. One thing that's really important, I'm not sure how well you guys can see it on camera, is all the stuff right up on the edge here. What happens is a bunch of hair and carpet strands and whatever starts getting wrapped around here. And as you're powering your vacuum and this brush is rolling, they start to heat up. They actually, especially with carpet strands, they melt down and start forming a hard plastic. And it's the number one reason that our brush rolls stop moving, is not cleaning them out enough leads to some melting plastic over here. So it'll work really well when it's on. Maybe you're in the middle of a big deep clean, it gets really full. It's still rotating because you have that molten plastic in here. And when you turn it off, that plastic hardens and your brush roll will never work again. So that's what happens to cause these to stop moving most of the time. And simply by cleaning this out, we can prevent that from happening too soon. So I usually try to kind of get my finger in here and see if there's any hair or anything like that that I can get out of this rotating assembly in the vacuum. In this case, it actually looks pretty clear, so I can take care of it by taking my razor blade. There's a little channel in here, there's a groove, and you can follow that through with your razor blade and just cut all of this hair out. Definitely be very careful about where you're placing your hands. On this side, you can see that I'm pulling the hair away. to expose that groove, and then I'm going to take my razor through it. Alright, and now that I have it all cut, I can start unwrapping it in one giant hairball. So now you can kind of see that groove now that it's exposed, and that's what this groove's meant for. It's meant to get a razor in there so that we can follow it across and cut the hair out. You want to be doing this pretty much after every home. I find a good place to do it is to take your vacuum outside when you're taking the trash out and cut it off in their backyard if the trash is out back, or take it out the front door and cut it there before you leave. So have all the hair off of that. Going to reinsert this into the vacuum. Get these tabs lined up in here and then push down the back and it clicks right in. So I'm going to release the same way I did on the stick vacuum this front brush roll. Typically this one's actually surprisingly clean for how much hair came out of that one, but typically you can just pull the hair, it piles up on this comb surface in here. And same thing, I just want to poke my head down and check in this roller. On the left front side of the vacuum if I'm facing away from it, right front if I'm facing the vacuum, and see if there's any hair in there, any carpet strands, and same thing over here on this side. Want to get any carpet strands and hair out of here so that it doesn't freeze my roller. This roller just happens to look great, so we'll just reinsert it, and that vacuum is good to go as far as the rollers are concerned. What's inconvenient about this one is the brush roll doesn't just pop right out, so it makes maintenance more difficult. I do still have the same channel, but it's sometimes difficult to get all of that hair and carpet strand buildup right at the edge where we want to be cleaning filters out after every single home. So on all of our vacuums we have the primary filter right here. This is a pretty new filter, but it looks like we used it in a really dirty house, so it has a lot of buildup on it. So between every home, you want to take this filter, and before you load your vacuum in the car or when you're taking the trash out, either bang this filter on the curb or bang it inside of their outdoor trash can. The next thing that we have in here that's hard to get a view on camera is the secondary filter. So this filter down here, usually you want to replace your filter when this filter is no longer working. So you can see a bunch of dirt around the edge here, and what happens is if all the dirt that flows into your vacuum wants to take the path of least resistance, so it goes to the edges because it tries to go through the filter. If too much dirt gets through the filter, it gets into the motor, your motor overheats and your vacuum ends up dying. So you want to hit this filter as well. Once you see that it's starting to get pretty full or a lot of dirt's going around the edges, replace this filter. This is the main filter that protects the motors of our vacuums. And then the last filter, this is not present on the stick vacs. There's a HEPA filter down here. So you'll reach your hand in, grab the latch and pull this cover off. And then back here, you'll check this filter. This one's getting pretty dirty, but it's still okay right now. It's just not totally black. When I pull these fins apart, you can see that there is a lot of dirt in there. I'm actually gonna change my mind on this now that I've kind of pulled the fins apart and looked in there. This is definitely time to replace. If this filter gets too full, the motor in here has to work harder to expel air past it, and it overheats your vacuum. Onto disposable equipment. They make up the majority of our supply cost because we can't reuse them. Magic erasers, razor blades, all of our sprays, Anything that we throw away, trash bags after we use, is a disposable item. So using them to the last drop helps us a ton on supply costs and avoids unnecessary waste. You may be tempted to toss pummies, magic erasers after one use. Both of these items keep cleaning until there's hardly anything left. And also, as far as like easy off and stainless goes, shaking the can, turning it upside down, whatever you need to do to drag out how much spray is left helps a ton, because like I said, especially those two items, easy off and stainless cleaner, are super expensive, much more expensive than our other products, and we had to throw them away when we're done. So anything you can do is extremely helpful. Okay, we'll jump into the four sides of a microfiber in just a moment here. There is something else to consider with microfibers. One is how new it is. So this is an example of one that's pretty ragged out versus a brand new one. On camera, you can really see the difference in color, but what you're feeling for and why I'm rubbing them right here is if the surface is really hard, it just feels old and ragged out and like there's not a ton of fiber left. That's not going to help us cleaning. The way that microfibers work is the fibers are literally microscopic. So each fiber in here is about 1/100th of the width of a piece of human hair. And if you were to use a microscope and look at them, they'd be shaped like an asterisk, like a 3D kind of spiky thing. And what they do, what we accomplish by using microfibers is you get in a huge surface area. So for instance, a microfiber towel like this, if you unraveled all of the microfibers, would take up like the entire floor of the office that I'm in right now. And by having a massive surface area, we can pick up really tiny microscopic pieces of dirt. The fibers in these are smaller than a piece of bacteria, and so a good rule of thumb is if you have a smaller fiber, you can pick up anything bigger than that fiber when you're cleaning, and that's why microfibers, even with water, are somewhat antimicrobial and will pick up bacteria as we clean. So if we have good fresh microfiber, usually after about 50, 60 washes is where a microfiber kind of hits its groove and it works better than it did new. After about 150 washes, they're typically pretty ragged out and start looking like this one. These can still be used for like scrubbing in a shower. They work pretty well, but it's not going to do us any good for dusting. It's not going to do us any good for cleaning kitchens. So you want to make sure that the microfibers you have aren't ragged out. If they are, best to use it as just an oven rag or a scrub rag. The other thing to look for is when you're opening up your microfiber, if you see anything sharp, like a piece of wood we picked up from another house, or basically anything that could like scratch the surfaces we're cleaning, think like stainless steel, just something to look out for. We don't want to scratch our clients' furniture. Is the proper way to use a microfiber, and the good news is it's how we give them to you. So it's the fourfold. So when you're taking these microfibers out, you want to do your best to keep them looking like this. When you're dusting a surface, hold it like this. You can dust, use this side of the microfiber, flip it. Now you have a new side. Flip it this way, third side, and then lastly flip it out and you have a fourth side. If you want to go crazy, you can undo it and turn it around, and now you have another four sides. I find that even if you're just doing light dusting, once you use up one side of a microfiber, it is done. Obviously, this is something that sometimes gets abandoned on really deep, like bad deep cleans in a kitchen, in a bathroom. On a deep clean, you're likely soaking these pretty heavily, and this might not be the best strategy, but for a recurring... The last slide is a pretty obvious and easy one. It's simply cleaning our supplies so that we can maintain our professional look. If you look up in the top right corner there, you see this guy. That's not what we want to look like when we're showing up to someone's home. We want to be in... Okay, next up is our caddy in general. It's pretty obvious, but we're here to clean our clients' homes. and help them out. If we show up with a dirty caddy, here's an example. This one we exchanged for someone else's. I have a loose razor blade in here that's not in a holder, which is a safety hazard. Here's a very old cough drop and a bunch of other crud in here too. This is definitely something you want to hit on your monthly vacuum deep clean. Take your caddy outside and clean it with your vacuum. Once a month, just go through here and clean your caddy like we would our clients' homes. Throw out anything you don't need. Throw out anything that's totally empty. Looks like we have, about 11 cents in here. Maybe keep a change drawer going in your home. Pretty easy. You just want to spray this down with all-purpose spray, let that soak in for a while, get it under a sink, and go through here with a magic eraser. If we can do that once a month, our caddies are going to look presentable, and it really goes a long way in our clients trusting us in their home. It's just one of those small perception things that if we show up with nice looking, clean equipment, they immediately trust us without us having to say anything or do anything. It's just an instant and easy thing that we can do to instill the trust of our clients and keep them happy. I do notice that people with really high quality scores tend to also have really in order and neat looking equipment. It just goes in hand. So clean your caddy out, grab your bottles, clean that out. Make sure that at least once a week you're getting a bleach tablet and some water in your toilet brush so that we're not just spreading mold between our clients' homes. And just basic caddy maintenance and upkeep. Once a month you want to go through and deep clean everything. Pretty straightforward. That does include the tops of these bottles. You can see there's some Dawn kind of piled up or puddled up down here. Something I could take a razor and scrape that away, and then grab a microfiber and get in there and just really make sure that this looks clean and presentable.